All right, welcome to the finals of the Maine Invitational Scratch Tournament for October 19th, 2014 at Sparetime Recreation in Augusta, Maine. I'm James Goulding III, your commentator, and with me I have a special guest commentator, Steve Babb. Say hello, Steve.
Hello.
Steve bowls in Augusta with me on Tuesday nights. Steve bowled in the tournament today, so he can give an inside look on how the lanes played and how he thought the day broke down for him from the right side of the lane. In our final match today, we have the fifth-seeded Jimmy Clark, who's run the table the last two matches to get to this point. Bowling against top-seeded Rick Campbell. Rick was the top seed today. His four-game total was an 884 for a 221 average. His position round game was a 215, and he had 10 bonus pins being the top qualifier for a 225, which added to his four-game average, gave him a 446. Second seed today was Tim Grass, who had an 827 for a 206 average. His position round game was a 187. His four-game total was 393. Then we had Bob Nile, an 804 with a 201 for a 373. Jason Manser, who moved up to the second seed. He was originally the fourth seed. Had an 801 with a 223 for a 423. And Jimmy Clark, who started out in fifth with a 748. Shot a 212 in the position round game to move up to the third seed. First match today was against Bob Nile in the fourth seed against Bob Nile in the fifth seed against Tim Grass in the fourth seed. Bob Nile won that match 216 to 203. Second match featured third seeded Jimmy Clark against Bob Nile, and Jimmy won that match 204 to 167. Semi-final match set up second seed Jason Manser against Jimmy Clark, which Jimmy won 172 to 145. Set up this battle between Rick and Jimmy. Rick and Jimmy have both won M.I.S.T titles in the past. It's their first head-to-head meeting this season. We bowled on the 47-foot WTBA Paris oil pattern here in Augusta. Before I get too far ahead, I'd like to thank Donna Bowden and all of her staff at Augusta for letting the M.I.S.T come back. It's really a great venue for us to come to. We had a record number of entries with 82 entries today, which means we took 20 cash qualifiers. So it was really a great event for everyone today here at Sparetime. Steve, you bowled today on the second squad, on the 1130 squad. How did you find that 47-foot Paris oil pattern to play for you today?
Definitely played long, but come second game is when you notice it start to break down. Definitely had to start moving inside a little bit to stay in the oil, to start grabbing right off your hand.
Now, you really couldn't get to the gutter today, could you, Steve?
No. You get to the gutter, you were picking out three.
Yeah, that's the thing on these flatter oil patterns. It's really a lower volume in the center with a higher volume on the outside. Lowers those ratios and definitely makes spare shooting a key, and shot making and speed are critical in this type of oil pattern. As you see there, Rick starts with a 9 spare there in the second frame. Jimmy went 9 spare in the first frame. So Rick's gone 9 spare, Jimmy started 9 spare. Jimmy strikes here to take a 1-pin lead going into the third frame. We'll run down the rest of the cashers today. Sixth place today was Mallory Nutting. Seventh place was Adam Mishu. Eighth place, Terry Robinson. Ninth place, Mike Clausen. 10th place, Randy Plummer. 11th, John Bavoy. 12th, Chris Godwin. 13th, Lauren DeGazio. 14th, Dylan Davis. 15th, Joe Colcord. Tie for 16th and 17th between Roger Sorrells and Joe Guimond. And a three-way tie for 18th through 20th between TJ York, Anthony White, and Jeremy Allen. Those bowlers bowled great today. This is a really tough oil pattern. First squad score, they took minus 52 to cash. Top qualifier was 827 and Tim Grassi on that. And the second squad, it took a 767 for 4 games, or a minus 33 to cash, with top qualifier Rick Campbell, 884. Looks like Jimmy switched to a melee cross. A great shot there by Jimmy, big double. Big ball change. The second time he's changed balls, the first 2 matches he was a Brunswick Mastermind intellect. Gave him a really good clean look through the front part of the lane. And then on his fill ball at the end of the last game, he switched to an original Brunswick Mastermind, which picks up the mid lane a little bit more. And he started the match with that. I don't think he really liked the look with it. I think he wanted to go with the melee, which was still clean, but not quite as skid flipped as the intellect is. And you can tell that cross looked really good for him the last couple shots. Rick goes high there for a 9 count. Rick using a hammer rhythm right now. Pretty much the ball Rick used all day. Rick likes to play him a little straighter, a little further inside, close to 15, kind of points at the pocket. And Rick's been doing that for a long time and made a good career out of it. Really good bowler. Not surprised to see him in the final match. How about you, Steve? What do you think?
No, I've seen Rick bowl in the past, and he's definitely a very consistent bowler. Doesn't surprise me at all that he made it through to the final match on this.
Yeah, we had a new format today for our position round game. The bowlers bowled their 4 games, and we took their average for the 4, and then the top qualifier from each squad got an automatic bid for the top 5. But the other bowlers that qualified from each squad bowled a 1-game position round, which we've always done. But instead of taking their 4-game total, we took their average and added that to their 5th game position round game. So basically, gave them like a 2-game total to determine final placement. We got 3 bowlers out of that into the top 5, and everyone else got paid out. Nice shot there by Rick. Rick right around the pocket. 3-9 spares after coming high last time, makes the adjustment, goes high flush there for the strike. Early in the match. Right now, Rick's looking at a 22-pin deficit if Jimmy strikes here, but definitely too early to really, call it in anyone's favor at this point.
All it takes is for that one switch for the momentum to go somebody else's way, and that's all it takes.
Jimmy, no stranger to missed finals. And with that new format change today, that's why I bring it up, because Jimmy was sitting in the 20th position going into that position round game. And with taking the average instead of taking the total pinfall, Jimmy came into that with a 187 average, and the high bowler in that came in with a 206 average, which means there was only 19 pins separating 20th from 6th, and from 3rd. And Jimmy came out, shot a 230 game in that position round, jumped all the way from 20th all the way to 3rd in the tournament. So I think the bowlers really enjoyed that and tightened the field up a lot, and it's a different twist on traditional match play, and hopefully it'll be well received. The bowlers wanted something different, so that was a nice cover by Jimmy there to stay clean. And right here, that's the big thing. Jimmy's got an 11-pin lead after 4 frames as he steps up in the 5th. But again, both bowlers clean through 4, and that's the key on this type of oil pattern. Steve, how did you find it today when you were shooting spares? Did you find it easy to try to go straight at the spares rather than try to go across the lane at the spares, where sometimes that oil pattern, especially on the outside of the lane, can get kind of funky?
Well, I was still shooting a hook at my left side spares, shooting straight at my right side spares. It was definitely tricky to figure out where to lay down the ball for my left side spares. I was throwing it probably 3 to 4 miles an hour slower than normal, so it was definitely a huge adjustment for me.
Yeah, basically you're trying to get the ball to pick up the mid lane a little bit more.
Yeah.
Try to read as early as it possibly can, because on that 47-foot pattern it just wants to kind of push right through the break point and not hook until it almost gets to the head pin.
Yep, that's exactly what it felt like.
Well, we have a minute. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Brunswick Bowling, as always, sponsoring the main invitational scratch tournament. The raffle ball today was the Brunswick Brew. That was won by Jason Spalding. I'd like to thank Bowl Pro Sales and John Bavoy. They donated a bottle of Knockout Ball Cleaner, and that was won today by Jason Ward. And I'd also like to thank bowlingchat.net. They give us web space for all of our results. So just visit them at www.bowlingchat.net. And you can check out all the main invitational scratch tournament results at www.mist.bowlingchat.net. I'd also like to thank Maine Clockworks. Joe Kenny of Maine Clockworks makes a beautiful clock for our tournament champion every month. And that winner will get that today here at the tournament. It's a gorgeous clock. So I'd like to thank Joe for that. And then you see a little bit of what happens when one of the lower rev rate guys gets a little in. Rick leaves a 5-pin there. It looked like it was in the pocket. The ball almost skidded from about 45 feet right to the head pin. Didn't have a lot on it when it hit the pocket. Just kind of flat, left that 5-pin. Pretty easy spare here for Rick. Great spare shooter. Covers it easily. Next month, the main invitational scratch tournament is going to be traveling to Sparetime Recreation in Lewiston, Maine on November 16th, 2014. I'll be getting information about that tournament out via the Facebook page. Just go to Main Invitational Scratch Tournament under search and join the group. And you can get all the updates for all the New Brunswick bowling ball releases, any pertinent info to the tournament, schedule changes, poll questions, everything on there. Really good information for any tournament bowler that bowls a tournament. Good shot there again by Rick, just a little flat. Almost, what do you think, Steve, at this point? You think he should go to something, maybe a little bit of surface that picks up with the lane a little bit? Looks like that rhythm's at about a 2,000 grit surface, but I'm almost thinking if he went to something maybe with 1,000 or 1,500 grit, maybe to pick up that back of the pattern a little bit. Looks like his ball's just missing the back end of the pattern and hitting pretty weak right now.
Well, James, the only issue I had is I used something with a little bit of surface. I used my hypercell.
That's something Rick doesn't do right there. Misses the 10-10.
I used my hypercell today at 1,500, and you could definitely tell that it was grabbing a little too early. So it was more of making an adjustment on the lane and with your feet than using the switching surfaces.
So maybe making a 1 or 2 board move right with the feet to tighten that line up a little bit, get the ball to face up a little quicker.
Yeah, because you can tell that it's just getting just a little too long, and it's just leaving. He left the 5-pin and the 10-pin.
That was a big miss there by Rick. Basically, Jimmy can double here to really step on his throat. Big strike there in the 6th frame by Jimmy Clark. That ups the lead to 21 pins. Jimmy strikes here in the 7th frame. That's going to give him a 31 pin advantage, but only 4 frames to go. So that's really going to put some heat on Rick to get going and make a move real fast. He may be forced to make that move on the lane. You know, you can't sit there and go 9 spare, 9 spare until your opponent starts to strike.
Exactly. At some point, you're going to make that chance to try and figure something out. Put down a double. Get your score going back up.
Huge shot here by Jimmy. Jimmy, a really good shot maker, takes his time on the approach. I fully expect him to hit the pocket. That one got in a little on him. Looks like it was a little left to target off of where he was on 21 before. Again, that just leaves that door slightly open for Rick to try to come in. You know, Jimmy covers a spare. He's the clean one in this match, and that's really the difference right now.
That it is on this shot. Definitely spares are the key.
So Jimmy covers this. We'll have 127 in the 6th with a spare up in the 7th. 21 pin lead. But a little bit of room there. If Rick can throw a double together in the 7th and 8th, we can cut that lead down to 11 pins and maybe get Jimmy thinking a little bit going into the 8th frame. And Jimmy, one of the better spare shooters out there. Really, one of our really good bowlers in the state of Maine. I'd also like to thank our longest running sponsor, M.I.S.T Pro Shop. M.I.S.T has sponsored the Maine Invitational Scratch Tournament all 6 years of our existence. Scott Moore of M.I.S.T Pro Shop is the leader in the pro shop industry here in the state of Maine. If you have any questions or any ball drilling needs, call Scott, 207-754-9395. You can talk to him, you can talk to me, I work in the shop, you can talk to Jimmy Clark, he works in the shop, M.I.S.T Pro Shop, so we can really set you up with anything you need out there. So thank you again to Scott and M.I.S.T Pro Shop. They sponsor our Bowl of the Year competition. They give our Bowl of the Year their choice of bowling ball, professionally drilled by M.I.S.T Pro Shop. So I'd like to thank them for that. All right, big spare conversion for Rick. Good cover. Covers the 2-4-5. Not an easy spare on this oil pattern. You see how he took his plastic ball and went right at it, straight at it. Probably the best move on this oil pattern. You go cross lane with those 3-pin combinations. Good chance to chop that spare.
I did that more than once today, James. But you can definitely tell that there's still oil on the inside.
Yeah,
I saw a lot of people playing outside. Really, the only person I've seen playing mid lane is Jimmy right now. And you figure we're 7-8 games deep. So there's a lot of breakdown in there.
That's going to have to hurry. Wow, he gets the light mixer. Good carry there by Rick. Look at his ball speed. He got it out a little, maybe a little softer than he had been. Got the ball to tip up on the back of the pattern where it didn't quite do that before.
It's just a matter of finding something that's going to face up at the end and not just skid past.
All All right, so the situation being right now, 21 pin lead by Jimmy. You know, he strikes here in the 8th to try to keep pace with Rick. But if he doesn't strike here, this match could get real interesting going into the 9th and 10th. He's had the nuts on this lane. I expect him to hit the pocket here on this ball. Once again, right there, you know, that ball's a little light, but Jimmy with a little higher rev rate can get the pins off the wall, get the mix, get that 7 pin out. Definitely works in his favor because he can get deeper on the lane than a guy like Rick can at this point and kind of open up the lane a little bit. And, you know, credit to Jimmy for being able to recognize that and knowing his equipment well enough so he can move into a different part of the lane, change balls, and have the confidence that it's going to come back and strike every time.
And that's definitely a huge part of your game at this point, James. You got to trust your equipment and know what you're doing.
Absolutely. You know, it's one thing to execute shots, but if you have the wrong ball in your hand, that definitely can cost you some pins out there. So it's not only the physical game, but the mental game too. Once again on that left lane, he goes high. I don't know if that's an issue with the ball, just you know, reading the pattern a little early, just grabbing, maybe a little bit of breakdown on that lane. It didn't look bad off his hand, Steve, but what did you think? It looked good off his hand to me.
Yeah, it looked good off his hand. It just looks like it didn't quite skid out as much as the right lane has been for him.
And Rick had the choice of starting lane here, and he had Jimmy finish on the right-hand lane, which right now might be a questionable decision when you think about Jimmy's really been dialed in on that right-hand lane this game. All right, this is a big spare here. Big spare in the 9th. Good cover by Jimmy. Again, Jimmy a great spare shooter, so him and Rick both that miss of the 10 pin by Rick, definitely out of character for Rick. Rick has been one of the better spare shooters I've ever seen, so I don't expect him to miss another one of those again. You can hear Jimmy kind of talking to himself on the side, kind of saying what you and I were saying, Steve, about the hold on the right lane and the left lane grabbing. So, you know, players, sometimes it's good to talk to yourself, kind of talk yourself through it and kind of move past it. Big shot here by Rick, got the lead to 11. Huge shot by Rick.
Yeah, and James, you could see that one a little down the lane. It grabbed a little bit earlier and faced up nice for him.
Yep, it almost looked like he was in a board or two from where he was. He was in around 15. Looked like that one hit around 17 at the arrows. Just let that ball get out to about 12, 13 and just come in beautiful. I mean, you couldn't throw a better shot there in the 9th frame. You know, we'll just reset the situation now. I mean, you know, if Rick strikes out in the 10th frame, he can strike out for 216. Jimmy Clark can strike out for 217. We have a whole bunch of possibilities coming up here, but there's definitely a possibility of a tie match in the making. Big shot here in the 10th. Just to get the match down to 1 pin. Oh, wow. Rick hitting that drive spot on the inside of that left-hand lane that Jimmy found. Jimmy went through the face the last 2 times, going 9 spare, 8 spare. That time Rick goes through the face, caves in the 310. What a huge break in the 9th, 10th frame by Rick Campbell. Now right here, Rick can strike here to actually take the lead. If he strikes, basically, whatever he does in the 10th, Jimmy's going to have to mirror it to win the match. So Rick struck there. If he strikes here, Jimmy's going to have to double.
Yeah, James, this is definitely a great finish that you want to see in the final match, making it come down to the 10th frame, anybody's game.
2 phenomenal champions here bowling in this match. I would definitely expect nothing less. You know, Rick Campbell just set the scenario to strike on this ball to get to 216. Jimmy Clark needs all 3 in the 10th if that happens to shoot 217 to win the title.
And that's very possible, James, where he's been, like you said, he's dialed in on that right lane.
Absolutely,
so.
Absolutely. He's been throwing great balls on that lane. Good ball reaction. So. Here we go. Pin count is absolutely enormous here. What a great finish by Rick Campbell. That's one of the best finishes I've seen in a long time under that pressure situation. Down in the match, 21 pins late, comes back, finishes strong. 8th, 9th, and 10th, the last 5 in a row to get to 216. What a finish. Now this is for all the marbles right here. I bowl with Jimmy on Thursday nights. I see it every week. He's definitely poised. He's got the type of character, the type of ability to get it done. Let's see what happens right here.
Good shot.
Good shot. I think it was just maybe in a little high.
Yeah,
Tripped the 4 out, didn't get the 9.
Looked like he laid that down a little bit early on the lane. Also, James to give it that little extra time to react.
Yeah, in the pocket though, definitely could have went. Gets the spare. Gonna make a strike here for 206. One great final match between two great champions. Rick Campbell wins the title in the second M.I.S.T tournament of the 2014-2015 season. Congratulations to Rick Campbell on the title. Congratulations.